I played a little bit, last couple months, trying to play as much as I can. But it's a short season for us.
Joel, you talked a lot at the exit of last season about being unsatisfied the way your personal season turned out because of health issues. How do you feel right now heading into this year? You feel rejuvenated?
Yeah, I feel really good right now. You don't play football for a few months, plus you get some, treatments and some stuff taken care of, and the body starts to feel a lot better. So right now I'm at a good space, physically, and I'm upping up my running and conditioning and bin lifting and stuff. So I feel good right now, and we got a little bit of time before the season starts, so hopefully it just keeps improving.
How much have you kind of changed your approach as you progress through your career in terms of how you handle your body and everything during the off season?
Yeah, as a rookie, I thought if I took like 2 days off, I was like behind for the season, so I was just constantly like, oh, I'm back at it, I got to start training. And now there's a fine line between wearing myself out before the season starts and making sure I'm in shape to play, though. So it's definitely a difference. Having kids too, you got time to hang out with them and stuff, take trips with them. But no, I think I figured it out well, and I've been able to ramp myself up to really be at my best when the season's starting.
What do you know about your new offensive line coach?
He's good. I think I told the story, but he worked me out coming out of college at Nevada. He was with the Rams. He came out. We had lunch or dinner. We did some board work. So I had a small relationship with him. Then obviously I've known him across the league of. He's been an assistant coach when Corbett was with him, so I talked to Corbett about him, and then obviously Poe's had him in Seattle. So it's good. He has a good energy. He brings some passion to the field. We're still working through an offense, and I haven't obviously been on the field with him yet, but so far it's been good when I've been in the meetings, and I've kind of picked his brain on some things.
Joe, what do you think about the NFLPA, whatever, proposal, whatever it is at this point, about getting rid of the offseason program and then starting whenever it would be?
Yeah, I don't know the exact details, but I do think there is some science behind like a better ramp-up period of, hey, as a young guy, I always thought like, all right, I have to be in great shape April 4th when I show up for OTAs and off-season. And so you don't really have a long break to get back into shape there. But now if you push it back, you kind of have this like 4 or 5 month off-season where, hey, you can take a month off, you can start slowly working into it, and then get ready to go. And then once you show up at the end of June or early July, then you have a 3-week period of not really training camp practices, but like an off-season, program where they can kind of ramp it up. So I think body-wise and, guys actually being able to train in an off-season, I think it's probably the smartest move. I don't know if people, schedule-wise and stuff are very used to certain things. So we'll see how that goes. But I think science, like in a ramp-up period and training in the off-season, all those things, seem like it's a smart move.
Joel, do you think before you retire you'll be playing 18 game schedule?
I hope not. No, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the details on that are, but I know next CBA, I would think they would get 18 games by the next CBA, but I will not be playing by then. So,
Joe, when they added it,
I mean, they have to collectively bargain it. So, I don't know the details of, those talks, or I don't think the off-season program is worth an extra game if that's what they're talking about, or things like that. I don't have a seat at the table in those discussions, but yeah, I would hope we would get more than a couple voluntary off-season programs switched,
Joe, when they added the 17th game, were you surprised they didn't add another bye week? Was that something you would have supported?
It's hard because, like, in the middle of the season, I'm like, oh, I could love it. Like last year I was beat up. I was like, I'd love an extra bye. But then you look at, like, a totality of the schedule, and you're like, I don't want to play till, mid-February, and I don't want to, all these extra things. But I think the more games you play, the more time you have to give guys off. And I think there's ways to work around it where maybe you have like a mini bye, not just after the Thursday game, but you play like a Sunday game, and you're not always going into that game 4 games. Like you have a little bye week there, so you get an extra few days off there, and that could be your second bye, and it probably adds a week still, but it's still at least taking care of the guys' bodies. I think those quick turnarounds are, at least now that I'm getting older, is what's the hardest thing for me.
Joe, you've been through the coaching changes, you've been through coordinator changes, with Ken Dorsey coming in now and, working with Kevin to revamp this offense a little bit. Has anything changed for you?
There's some different terminology and stuff. I think the identity of the offense is very similar, but I think there's new wrinkles and new, like I said, terminology. Like once you've been in the league for 10 years now, you've ran pretty much every offense imaginable, and it's now just like putting those plays into the system. So there's some new code words that I'm like, wait, I think that was a different code word last year, or that was a different play call. So you just got to kind of wrap that stuff. But I think in the passing game, they've definitely evolved. I don't know the details of every route, but it seems like there's some new wrinkles and some new things that will, some motions, some just different things that might not, if you read a play off the playbook, sound different. But when you look at it, I think it's going to add a little bit more totality to the offense.
Go ahead, Tony. Okay.
flip?
Yeah, I'll do it. Joel, to go back to the off-season proposal thing, I know Shelby Harris was pretty vocal on his social media about not being a fan of it. I mean, is this just one of those things where there's going to be differing opinions amongst players?
Yeah.
Or what do you feel like the sentiment is right now?
I think there is different. I haven't really talked to too many people besides JC, who's I'm sure has his,
Yeah.
but I don't know if guys really truly know what the new proposal is. So it's hard to be like, have a correct take right now, I would say. So we'll see. I mean, once we get a more concrete idea of what's happening, I think we can get a better understanding. I think it depends too with age. Like if you're a young guy, like you probably want 4 or 5 months off in a row, but some young guys might not want 4 or 5 months. They're like, I need to get back to work. If you have kids, I could see a different idea. So there's definitely gonna be some differing opinions, but I think we trust what's, best for our bodies and preparing for a season.
Joe, for 4 years, part of the running game was constructed by Bill Callahan. Now that he's gone, and with the emphasis on kind of a spread offense, are you concerned about losing the identity of the running game?
No, I do appreciate Coach Callahan and what he did for us. I think he's a great O-line coach. But I have faith in Coach Dickerson, Roy, who we brought over from the Eagles. Coach Stefanski still, no matter, what, I think he still has roots in the run game. And it might be a little bit different, like you said, a little more spread and a little bit, different ways we attack it if we're finishing the game running the ball. But I think we're still going to have an identity, when you invest in the O-line and we want to live up to being one of the better units in the league. I think there's going to be times where there's still going to be like, hey, you got Nick Chubb back there, you got a good O-line, like let's get a couple yards here.
Joel, what is the vibe or the feeling in the building that you guys have Deshaun Watson coming back healthy and ready to roll this season?
Yeah, it's been a good vibe. When I've been around the guys, everybody seems excited. He seems like he's in a good mindset. It's never been an issue about his work ethic and the way he puts in time in the classroom and stuff. So I think guys are excited. I think we saw flashes last year of the second half of Baltimore and other games. And you look at our win-loss record when he's our quarterback. They're all good signs. So I think it's all the momentum's good. You got some new weapons for him to throw the ball to. So. It's exciting time, and it's always about expectations. You got to live up to them, but we're happy to have them because that means we're there and hopefully ready to compete.
Hey Joel, I remember when you were a wide-eyed rookie, and I know you haven't been on the field with him yet, but your impressions of Zinter and maybe what he can do for you guys right out of the gate.
Yeah, I've been in the meeting room a little bit. I've talked to him a little bit. Obviously, he has a pedigree of coming from a prestigious university and played in some big-time games there. He seems like he's just kind of being a good rookie, which is absorbing everything in the meeting room and not doing anything too crazy. So from those perspectives, I think it's been good, and he seems like he's willing to learn. Once I get out on the field with him, we'll be able to see a little bit more. But just from the makeup and the type of guy I've heard he is and what I've seen, I think it's someone you add to the room, and it's only going to be positive.
Joel, going through the rebuild years ago, the ladder of the goals kind of changed, right? And for the longest time, it was just get into the playoffs, right? Has for you guys as players coming off of that wild card game, had the expectations for what you feel you have the talent to achieve changed?
Yeah, I mean, I think you want to get a spot in the dance because if you have a chance, you have a chance to win. But I don't think we're satisfied with that. Like you said, I think early in my career it was like, hey, let's make the playoffs. And now it's like, we got to win some games in the playoffs. We got to make some things happen, especially, you get older in your career. You don't know how many years you have left of playing. And now you feel like you're squandering opportunities when you lose those games. But the expectations, you always want to try and win your division to start. And then you kind of go from there. But yeah, losing in the first round or in the wild card is not how we want to end our season.
So there's a lot of examples of all-pro linemen playing well beyond 35. Do you feel your career ticking, or where are you at? length of career?
I mean, I feel like I've definitely played more seasons than I have left, but really I'm truly taking it, 1 year, one game at a time. You never know, Joe played 11 years. I'm going to 11 years now. So it's a blessing every time I get to keep playing football. It's going to dictate a lot of how my body feels and stuff and how we are as a team as well. But right now I feel good and I'm ready for this year. And I'm, hopefully, like you said, I can bounce back physically and have a great year.
Joel,
how is
going back to the off-season proposal? I'm not sure how much specifics you know or are able to talk about, but the ramp up, are they kind of thinking along the lines of what you guys already do, but shifting where it is on the calendar?
I think so, and I think it's more of like 3 days on, 1 day off type of thing is what I heard. And so, yeah, you're going to be training, you're going to be running, you're going to be doing some position work, but I don't think it's going to be like a training camp practice. Like, it's still going to be like half days and things of that nature where you're just trying to get used to being in pads. I mean, not being in pads, but being on a football field and moving like a football player.
Joel, a wide receiver signed a contract today worth $35 million a year. Just wondering, what comes to mind when you hear that number, and can you believe that they're going through the roof like that?
Yeah, it's crazy. I think the NFL is as popular as ever, and you can tell with these contracts and the way the salary cap's moving up. But good. I always say good for them, man. I see these guards signing, $20 million contracts, and I'm like, I remember I signed my first, my second contract, and it was 10 a year, and that was like 3 guys did that, and now in my career they're up to 20, and so it's great for the guys. I mean, and the more other guys get paid than everybody should be cheering for guys to get paid because it brings it up for everybody. So it's pretty surreal though, looking back, like on what guys are making now, and receiver has truly flying up the market.
Joe,
All right, last one.
You talked about getting older and how your body feels coming off last year. For you now, how much of it is about like managing reps, right? I mean, you're not at OTA practices. Like, is it all about just kind of saving the best reps for when they're necessary?
Yeah, it's tough because I actually enjoy like practicing and being out there and trying to work on my craft, and I think that was part of it last year. Was there was a fine. Well, I couldn't last year with like the way my body was reacting, but it's like still working out, still getting the reps you can, but also taking the days when you need it to make sure you're ready for Sunday. And it's a fine line, but I think we're working through it, and I think we have a pretty good plan.
Thanks, Joel.
Sweet. Thanks, guys.
Hit him straight.
Thanks.
This isn't the legacy out there.
Kevin will be coming in a second.
Oh, thanks, Chris. Oh, don't fall, please don't fall. It fell.
How much do you know about the new offseason proposal at the NFLPA, or how much have you heard about it, and what are kind of your thoughts about just?
Honestly, I've heard none of it. I'm sure some people way above my pay grade are talking about it at some point, but
we'll just, whatever the rules are, we'll adhere to them and really focus on what they are right now. But I have not heard that at all.
Do you think 18 games is coming?
Do you?
Yes.
Okay. Zach said it's coming. I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting. We certainly, as coaches, we talk about it, and it seems to be the narrative that it's coming. Wherever they line them up and tell us to play, we'll play.
Well, you're very conscious of how you space things out. Do you
Yeah.
think that there would be significant change if that came?
I've seen it said or written that there'd be an extra bye week. That seems to make some sense if they ever went that route. We think long and hard about those 17 games right now and how to play in training camp, how to play in your early part of your season, how to plan, thank you, Murph, plan the late part of your season. So it's, if the numbers were to change, the variables were to change in terms of number of games, you'd obviously have to take that into account.
Hey, Kevin, we were talking to Jameis Winston last weekend, and he just kind of casually mentioned that Ken Dorsey is calling plays. Is that a sign that's how it's going to be in the future?
No, we rotate at practice. I don't always radio the plays into practice. I never have. We've always mixed it up.
Right.
As you head into the third week of OTAs, will Deshaun do pretty much what he's been doing every other day and sort of not against the defense?
We'll see, Mary Kay. I think I'm really waiting on medical when it comes to that. If they say he's ready to go, we'll throw him in there. But until then, we're really trying to keep it, by the day, and he's doing really, really well.
I thought a couple weeks ago you seemed like he wouldn't be every other day in minicamp. Do you still feel like it'll be more than he's doing now?
I think it's all being talked about with the medical groups, and I know you could talk to Deshaun. He wants to be doing everything, but we'll continue to listen to whatever the docs tell us to
I know
do.
the last time we talked to you, and we asked you about, Deshaun, you said he looks like himself. Does he look like he's made any progress, or
What's another way to say
he's
it?
feeling better?
He looks like Deshaun Watson. Yeah, I mean, he's again. You guys should talk to him. He's doing everything he's supposed to do. He's attacked this rehab from day one of the rehab. When he gets out there and throws it around, which I know you guys saw last week, looks like Deshaun Watson to me.
Do you have any update on Nick Chubb, Kevin?
No update. Nick's continuing to do well. Saw him this morning, but no update per se, Jeff.
This is probably a better question for Bubba, but we didn't think to ask him.
Okay.
Right after that, Andy Reid said he's going to put the safety as the kicker.
Yeah.
The obvious advantage is you get another defender in there.
You do, yeah.
Like, is it that hard to train someone to kick the ball 40 yards as a kickoff?
The specifics. Well, again, I think it goes into what we've been talking about all along. I don't think anyone knows exactly how this is going to play out. So we'll see if that first game they have their safety out there. They might. I know that ball placement becomes really important because the ball landing at the 10 versus inside the 5 versus, as you know, on the goal line, just in the drills that we've done, the closer that ball lands to the both return unit and kickoff unit, there's an opportunity maybe to gain yards in the kickoff return. So I don't think the premium of ball placement has changed for the kicker. If you have a position player that is really good at it, obviously that's a major bonus for them. But I think so much of it we're interested in, where that ball is placed by your kicker. Because remember, hang time means nothing now. It's just literally how can I hit my spot. Are people going to want to put the ball at the goal line inside the 5? Are they going to try to put the ball outside the numbers? There's obviously risk involved when you kick the ball outside the numbers that it could go out of bounds. How do people treat it indoors versus outdoors? Because as you know, at our place, it's one thing to say you're going to place it here, but it's harder to pull off. So I think it's going to be based on each team. Obviously, if you had a position player that you felt could be consistent in ball placement, that'd be an advantage.
Is there any conversation to train someone to do it?
We feel really good about our guys. I feel really good about Dustin, his ability in that phase.
Kevin, we had a chance to talk to Elijah last week. How do you kind of see his role evolving here in year 2?
Yeah, I think evolving is a great word. I think he's getting better as a player. We're lining him up in different spots. He has the mental ability to line up in different spots. There's some newness, I'd say, that we're excited about for Elijah. But, I look back at his last year with us and some of the big plays he made for us. And as you know, he got a ton of opportunity in that Jets game with Amari going out, and he's having a great game, and he got injured. So I think he's somebody that knows that there's more there, but I don't want to be dismissive of a really good year that he just had.
And I know you guys were trying him in a bunch of different spots early last year. Did you learn anything about him in particular?
For sure, yeah, absolutely. And I think that's our job as coaches. You try things in camp, and then you try it in the games, and then sometimes you expand those roles. Sometimes you pivot in those roles. So definitely we learned more about Elijah over the course of the season, and he's very vocal. He'll communicate with me and with the coaches and kind of say what he's seeing. So he's been a great partner.
Kevin, I know you'll adjust